is up, guys? EJ here, back with another video, and today it's going to be my top 10 films of 1998, continuing on my series of top 10 films of the 90s. Sorry it's a couple days late, but I've been having some laptop issues lately. So anyway, 1998, my favorite movies of that year, counting down as always, starting at number 10. We have There's Something About Mary. One of the funniest films of the 90s. The first time I saw this, I laughed my ass off. Directed, of course, by the Farrelly brothers, probably their best film. Great cast. Ben Stiller, Cameron Diaz, Matt Dillon, Chris Elliott, and of course the great Green Bay Packers legend quarterback Brett Favre. Of course, Ben Stiller, in love with the coolest girl in high school, played by Cameron Diaz, Mary. Really charming performance by her. It's one of my favorite performances by Cameron Diaz. Loses her on prom night after a hilarious accident in the bathroom, and then later on in life he hires Matt Dillon to track her down to sort of rekindle the friendship and something more. Of course, he goes down there and has to fight off a whole host of characters to win her affections. Hilarity ensues. Really funny movie. All the stuff with the dog and the landlady is great. Matt Dillon is really creepy and funny in this movie. Like I said, the stuff with Brett Favre is great, especially since I'm a Niners fan and how that all plays out at the end. Yeah, just a hilarious film and one of the funniest of the 90s. Okay, number 9, Don't Hate. It's my list. We have Armageddon. Of course, the Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer blockbuster of 98. One of two disaster movies about asteroids and comets impacting the Earth. Of course, the other movie, Deep Impact. Film I do like and do own, but it's not on this list. Armageddon, I just love it for some reason. I know it's stupid. It's bombastic. It's very sort of fast-paced, but not in really a good way. It's very choppy and poorly edited. No scene lasts more than like 5 seconds, it seems like, in this movie. But it's got a really good cast. Bruce Willis, I'm a huge fan of course. Leads this ragtag team of oil drillers who are sent into space to land on the asteroid and stop it from destroying the Earth. They get hired by Billy Bob Thornton, who works for NASA. Of course, you got the young hotshot Ben Affleck, who's trying to chase down Bruce Willis's daughter, played by Liv Tyler. In the meantime, I like the music. A lot of the special effects are really good. The film sort of goes off course once they get up on the asteroid, in my opinion. But I like all the stuff before that, like the opening with the oil rig and like their training stuff down on the ground and at the NASA facility. It's got some good special effects, of course. I really like the opening scene in New York with the meteor shower and the shot of Paris getting obliterated. That's a good one as well. Yeah, it's not a great film, obviously, but for some reason I'm a Michael Bay apologist, and I love this movie. Okay, up next we have the Best Picture winner for this year, and that is Shakespeare in Love, or if you're Scream 2 inclined, Shakespeare in Love, directed by John Madden, of course starring Gwyneth Paltrow, Joseph Fiennes. You've got the great Colin Firth. Can go on with my mother will obviously see this without mentioning him. Ben Affleck in this as well, really good in this actually. Very interesting and funny role for him. Of course, Judi Dench, who won Best Supporting Actress for her performance as Queen Elizabeth, on screen for like 8 minutes max in this movie, and she still won Best Supporting Actress. Kind of astonishing. Who else is in this? I know I'm forgetting somebody. Jeffrey Rush. Can't forget the great Jeffrey Rush. Of course, about the Globe Theater and the plays of William Shakespeare and what's her name, Gwyneth Paltrow, dressing up as a man to play all these great parts in Shakespeare's plays, and falling for Joseph Fiennes. Just a really well written, very charming movie. The music's really good. I'm a big fan of the music. Not for everybody. I know a lot of people don't like these sort of romantic films, but it's a very good movie, and it wasn't deserving of Best Picture that year, I don't think, but still a very good film. Okay, up next, we have a really great movie at number 7, and that's Out of Sight, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Fantastic film based on a novel by Elmore Leonard. Great sort of crime thriller, sort of in the vein of Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. Really sexy and sleek. Brilliant cast. George Clooney, awesome as a bank robber, and Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, really good as a federal marshal, and they hook up. That scene where they get locked up in the trunk, as they're springing that guy, as George Clooney is springing the guy from prison. After that scene when they're locked up in the trunk, just fantastic scene. One of the most electric scenes of the 90s, talking about movies and stuff. Really great supporting cast, obviously Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, the late great Dennis Farina, Albert Brooks, Michael Keaton, of course, I think reprises his role from Jackie Brown in this movie. Just a fantastic heist thriller. Absolutely love Out of Sight. Just a great movie. Okay, number 6. Yeah, 6. Gotta keep track of these numbers better. We have the brilliant American History X, obviously you can tell by looking at it. Directed by Tony Kaye, and of course starring Edward Norton, Edward Furlong, Beverly D'Angelo. Just a brilliant film. Of course, Ed Norton plays a Nazi skinhead living in Venice, California. I believe the film takes place in Venice. Gets sent to prison after killing 2 African Americans on his doorstep, pretty brutally in one case, after they try and break into his car one night. It's a racially charged film about racism and intolerance and how that affects people, families, and so on. Of course, they're in prison. He gets shacked up with an African American roommate. Well, he may not have been his roommate, but they work together in the laundry room, and of course it sort of changes his views about race and all that kind of stuff. Gets out and finds that his younger brother, played by Edward Furlong, sort of on the slippery slope, the same path that led Ed Norton himself to these sort of hateful views of life. Just a fantastic, heartbreaking film. Great performances by Edward Norton. This is definitely one of my favorite Norton performances. Not an easy film to watch at times, that's for sure, but certainly a must-see of the 90s. Just a fantastic film. Beautiful black and white photography as well. Just a great movie, American History X. Okay, number 5, film ahead of its time in my opinion, only by a couple years, and that's The Truman Show, directed by Peter Weir, of course, starring Jim Carrey. About a 24-hour, 7 days a week live show that's brought to millions of households about the life of one man, Truman Burbank. Is that his name? I forget if that was the character's name. Yeah, Truman Burbank. Living in this idyllic town that's obviously on a sound stage under a dome. Brilliant performance by Jim Carrey as the only one who's not in on the gag. And why was it ahead of its time? Because it was a precursor for reality TV, of course, which would come about 2 or 3 years later in earnest with Survivor and Big Brother and shit like that. And now reality TV, how it's lasted this long, I will not know. But this is a fantastic film, very funny. Great supporting cast. Ed Harris is the mastermind up in the sort of control room. You've got Laura Linney, who I've always liked in a lot of different movies, as the wife. Noah Emmerich as the best friend, shows up in a lot of movies over the years. Very recognizable character actor. You have Natasha McElhone, I think that's how you say it, Irish actress, who's sort of the long lost love of Truman when he was younger in high school, and you see her watching the show, rooting him on. I just love the ending of this movie. The ending just makes this film, in my opinion. Peter Weir, great director himself, great Aussie director. This is one of my favorite films by him. Absolutely love the Truman Show, and it's one of Jim Carrey's best performances. Okay, number 4, we have the Criterion Collection edition of The Thin Red Line, directed by Terrence Malick. Beautiful film, of course, set during World War II and the Battle of Guadalcanal in the Pacific Islands between American and Japanese forces, of course. Beautiful photography, goes without saying. Very sort of poetic feel to it, like with most of Terrence Malick's work. Great supporting well, it is a whole supporting cast. You got people like Sean Penn, Jim Caviezel, Thomas Jane. I believe Nick Nolte and Alec Baldwin make appearances in this film. Maybe I'm not right about Alec Baldwin. Who else? Elias Koteas, a really good actor, of course. Yeah, just a really good film. I'm a sucker for all things World War II. Really great action scenes, and sort of juxtaposed against these sort of quiet, poetic moments in nature and on the beach, interacting with local villages and stuff like that. Makes for an interesting contrast. Just a beautiful film and one of the great movies about World War II. Okay, number 3, just realized we're out of order here. We have another film set during World War II. In fact, 3 of my top 4 are World War II based films. We have Life is Beautiful, or La Vita è Bella. Great Italian film, of course, written and directed by Roberto Benigni, who won Best Actor for his portrayal of this charming, very funny Italian during World War II. Beautiful beginning of this movie. It's a great love story. Him trying to win the affections of a young girl, La Principessa, or whatever he says. The woman's played by, I'll never get it right if I don't read it, Nicoletta Braschi, or Braschi. And then, of course, the second half of the film turns to the horrors of war and being stuck in a concentration camp. The Nazis, of course, round up Jewish Italians and send them to camps. And there, Roberto Benigni tries to sort of ease the pain of daily life in the camp for his son, because his son is dragged along as well. He sort of makes it into a make-believe game. This is a tough film to watch, especially the second half, but it's a beautiful movie, one of the best of the year. Got a lot of praise, won best foreign film that year, I believe. And Roberto Benigni, just sort of electric, jumps off the screen like he did at the Oscars when he jumped on the chair when he won twice, I believe. Yeah, the first time I saw this, the end, when the young boy is riding the American tank after he's been liberated and he sees his mother on the street. That moment made me bawl like a baby. I'm not ashamed to say it. I cried like hell when I first saw this film at that moment, and it was right at the end of the film. Just a beautiful movie, one of the best of the year. Okay, number 2, little diversion from wartime. We have Dark City, my favorite sci-fi film of the 90s, directed, of course, by Alex Proyas, who brought us The Crow and I, Robot, to name a couple. Fantastic film, of course, starring Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland, William Hurt, and the always lovely Jennifer Connelly. Rufus Sewell wakes up one night sort of covered in blood and finds he's been accused of murder. Doesn't know what has happened, lost his memory. And of course, it's all about this mysterious city that's being manipulated by these alien creatures called the Strangers. These pale guys with bald heads wearing black overcoat jackets. Basically, fantastic movie. I don't want to say pretty much more than that. Kiefer Sutherland really good as the doctor. Jennifer Connelly, like I said, stunning as the sort of nightclub diva singer, and William Hurt, always good as well. Absolutely loved the ending of this movie. When I first saw it, I was blown away by it. Just a brilliant film, one of the best sci-fi movies of all time, actually, not just the 90s. Okay, number one, last but definitely not least, we have Saving Private Ryan, of course, directed by Steven Spielberg, who won his second Oscar for Best Director for this film. Should have won Best Picture, despite how good Shakespeare in Love was. Saving Private Ryan, one of the greatest World War II films of all time, actually my favorite. Just a fantastic movie, of course, starring Tom Hanks. The opening 20 minutes, the D-Day beach landings on Normandy, fantastic scene for its time, still a thrilling scene. I saw it was like on FX the other day, and I happened to turn it on, and it was during that scene, the opening scene. Fantastic. Yeah, truly a great war film that sort of really puts you right in the middle of the fight right away, and that scene sort of encapsulates that. That's not even a word. Yeah, of course, Tom Hanks plays the captain. He's charged with finding this Private Ryan, played by Matt Damon, who has lost his four brothers, I believe, all being killed in action, and the American government wants to find him and bring him home back to his mother, so she's not completely without a child. Great supporting cast, of course. Tom Sizemore, Barry Pepper. You've got what's his name? Edward Burns. I hope I got that right. Wrong. Edward Burns. Yeah, there you go. As part of the company. Yeah, just great as they make their way through France, avoiding enemy fire and taking enemy positions as they go along, trying to find this guy, looking through all these other companies that have been scattered and disjointed by failed drop zones and what have you. And then of course you have the great last stand in the bombed out town and on the bridge, and the precursor of that, them finding the old record player, and they blur out the Edith Piaf. Yeah, just love that moment, and the final scenes. That fight with the guy. Oh, what's his name? Oh, it's gonna really piss me off that I don't know the actor's name offhand. I want to say it was either. I think it was Nicky Cat. No, it's Adam Goldberg. That's what I'm thinking of. When he has that tussle, that fight with the German in that upstairs house, and it sort of turns into a knife fight, and it ends with the knife being plunged into him as he's lying on the ground. Oh, that scene always, like, it just kills me, that moment. Yeah, Adam Goldberg. Fantastic film, my favorite movie of 1998, and my favorite World War II film of all time. So there is my list, my top 10 films of 1998. Of course, let me know what you think of these movies, and share your list with me as always. Always like checking them out. So thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see ya.
Bond. James Bond.